All right, welcome to another deep dive. You guys wanted to get into the idea, that your thoughts can shape your reality. And
Hmm.
we're going right to a classic for that, James Allen's As a Man Thinketh.
Yeah.
It's wild how relevant this book still is, like even though it was published over a century ago.
Right. It really is.
Yeah.
What's fascinating to me about this book is it goes beyond just, kind of like those feel-good affirmations and stuff like that. Alan really tries to break down the mechanics of how
Yeah.
our thoughts influence not just our character, but like our actual circumstances.
Yeah, it's almost like he's giving us the blueprint
Yeah,
for building the life we want by mastering our mind.
absolutely.
And one of the most powerful metaphors he uses is that of the mind as a garden.
Right.
So what do you make of that?
I think it's a brilliant way to illustrate that we have more control over our mental landscape than we realize.
Yeah.
Just like a gardener chooses what to plant and weed out, we can decide which thoughts to nurture and which ones to let go of.
Mm-hmm. But what about those times when it feels like our thoughts are running wild, like weeds taking over?
Yeah.
Alan's not saying it's easy to just banish negative thoughts, right?
Absolutely not. He acknowledges the struggle, but emphasizes that becoming aware of our thought patterns is the first step. It's like identifying the weeds before you pull them out.
So it's about recognizing those negative thought patterns and then consciously choosing to plant something different, something more positive and constructive.
Exactly.
But how does that actually translate into changing our circumstances? Like, how do we get from thought to tangible reality?
Well, that's where Alan's concept of thought-shaping circumstances comes in. He argues that our external reality is a reflection of our internal state. He gives this example of a poor man who desires a better life, but, continues to shirk his work.
So even though he wants a different outcome, his actions, like maybe driven by underlying beliefs about himself
Right.
or the world, are actually perpetuating his current situation.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
His thoughts and actions aren't aligned with his desires, right? He's inadvertently attracting more poverty because on a deeper level, he may not believe he deserves better
Yeah.
or that he's capable of achieving more.
It makes me think about that concept of self-sabotage,
Yes.
where we subconsciously hold ourselves back
Yes.
from achieving what we truly want.
100%.
Yeah.
It's all connected, really.
Yeah.
Alan was writing long before the law of attraction became this big buzzword,
Right.
but he's essentially talking about the same principle.
Yeah.
We tend to draw in experiences that match the frequency of our dominant thoughts.
Okay, so if our thoughts are so powerful, what about the times when life throws us curveballs? Like when we experience suffering, even when we're trying to think positively. Alan has some interesting, albeit like potentially controversial views on that too, right?
He does. He suggests that suffering can actually serve a purpose. He sees it as a fire that burns away impurities, refining our character, and ultimately leading us to a higher state of being.
That's a tough one to wrap our heads around, especially when we're in the midst of pain or hardship.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not about glorifying suffering or seeking it out, is it?
No, not at all. It's more about recognizing that even difficult experiences can hold valuable lessons if we're open to learning from them.
So while we shouldn't seek out suffering,
Yeah.
we can choose how we respond to it,
Right.
using it as an opportunity for growth and self-reflection. But how does Alan explain the actual process of how these thoughts, both positive and negative, actually manifest in our lives?
He uses that term crystallization, right?
He does. He describes this fascinating process where our fleeting thoughts gradually solidify into habits, and those habits over time shape our circumstances.
It reminds me of that saying, sow a thought, reap an action. Sow an action, reap a habit. Sow a habit, reap a character. Sow a character, reap a destiny. Is that kind of...
Yes, exactly. It's like building a house brick by brick.
Yeah.
Each thought, each action contributes to the overall structure of our lives. And that brings us to another key point, the importance of purpose. Alan argues that having a clear purpose is essential for directing our thought power effectively.
Absolutely.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, he makes a compelling case. Without a central aim, our thoughts scatter. Our energy dissipates, and we become more susceptible to external influences. But when we have a clear purpose, it acts as this guiding star, helping us focus our energy and make steady progress towards our goals.
It's like having a destination in mind when we set out on a journey.
Yeah.
Without it, we're just wandering aimlessly.
Exactly. It's like having that compass, internally guiding us towards our true north. And what's interesting is Alan doesn't just talk about, having a purpose. He gives us some practical advice on actually how to set it and pursue it.
Yeah, like he suggests writing down your purpose and constantly reminding yourself of it. That sounds kind of almost like a precursor to these modern goal-setting techniques.
Absolutely. It's taking those big, lofty dreams and breaking them down into those smaller, actionable steps.
And then consistently aligning our thoughts and actions with those steps. It's so fascinating how these seemingly timeless principles keep resurfacing in different forms.
Right. Speaking of timeless principles, one of my favorite quotes from the book is, the dreamers are the saviors of the world.
Woo!
It's such a powerful statement about vision and imagination.
I get chills every time. It's like he's saying that our dreams aren't just these frivolous fantasies.
Right.
They're actually the seeds of a better future.
Exactly. And he backs this up with a really compelling story about this poverty-stricken youth who dares to dream of a better life. And through just sheer willpower and persistent effort, he transforms his circumstances and becomes, this person of great influence.
It reminds us that no matter where we're starting from, we have that power within us to create a different reality. But it's not just about setting goals and working hard, is it? Alan also emphasizes the importance of cultivating calmness of mind. I'm really curious to hear your take on that.
Yeah, I think this is where Alan's wisdom really shines. He links calmness to wisdom and self-mastery. It's not just about being relaxed or, stress-free. It's about developing a deep understanding of ourselves, as these thought-evolved beings.
So as we become more aware of our thoughts and their power, we naturally cultivate that greater sense of serenity. It's almost like we're rising above the chaos, the turbulence of everyday life, and tapping into that deeper well of peace.
That's beautiful. And this idea resonates so deeply with these modern practices like mindfulness and emotional regulation.
Yeah, it's not about suppressing our emotions or pretending that challenges don't exist.
Right.
It's about learning to observe our thoughts and feelings without being swept away by them.
Exactly. Developing that inner spaciousness where we can choose how we respond to life's ups and downs rather than just reacting, impulsively. And Alan argues that this inner calmness, it's not just beneficial for our own well-being, but it actually radiates outwards, influencing how we interact with others and even our success in worldly pursuits.
It makes so much sense. People are naturally drawn to those who exude a sense of calm confidence, a sense of stability. Think about it. Who would you rather do business with? Someone who's constantly stressed and reactive, or someone who's composed and thoughtful?
Right. Exactly. And this brings us to one of the most radical yet empowering ideas in the book, Alan's assertion that chance is not.
Oh.
He flat out says,
and if we truly embrace that idea, how might it change the way we approach our goals, our challenges, our relationships? Would we be more likely to step outside our comfort zones, to take, calculated risks, to persevere in the face of setbacks? I mean, it's almost like he's handing us this chisel and a block of marble, and saying, go sculpt your own masterpiece.
Yeah.
But he also acknowledges it's a process, like a continuous journey of self-discovery and refinement.
Yeah, he's not suggesting that we become these perfect beings that never have a negative thought.
Right.
It's more about recognizing when those thoughts arise and consciously choosing to steer your mind in a more, positive direction.
So it's about awareness and intention and consistent effort.
Yeah.
And that's what I find so inspiring about As a Man Thinketh. It's not just a theoretical treatise, on the power of thought. It's a call to action. It invites us to become active participants in shaping our own lives rather than passive bystanders.
100%, yeah.
It's about taking ownership of our thoughts, our choices, and ultimately our destinies. And that brings us back to you, the listener.
Yes.
What if you really took Alan's ideas to heart? How might it change the way you approach your own dreams, your goals, even just your everyday challenges?
Would you be more mindful of the thoughts that you allow to take root in your mind, knowing that they are the seeds of your future reality?
Would you be more intentional about cultivating that sense of calmness and clarity amidst the inevitable ups and downs of life?
And perhaps most importantly, would you approach your goals with that renewed sense of agency, knowing that while, external circumstances may influence your journey, your thoughts have the power to really shape the direction of your life?
It's a lot to ponder, but I think that's the beauty of Alan's work. It challenges us to really look inward, to examine our own thought patterns and recognize that incredible power we possess to create the life we desire. So keep exploring, keep growing, and never underestimate the power of your own mind to shape your reality. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the timeless wisdom of As a Man Thinketh.